All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our ongoing town hall community meetings. We are attempting to communicate with our families as often as we possibly can, because we know there's a lot of discussions that you're having in your home and decisions that you need to make that you probably never thought you'd have to make before. The idea of how your child will learn, where they will learn, it's something that we've not really had to deal with in the past, and we recognize that. So the Crestwood administration team, really has been working since before the closure on March 16th as to what, what the 2020-2021 school year will look like. And of course, we continue to be at a place where many people do not feel safe in having their children return, and we understand and we respect that. And that is what's really been our driving force to provide the very best educational alternative to our brick and mortar. So we are here today to discuss with you your questions and hopefully answer them to help you make the best decision regarding the Crestwood Cyber Academy. The information that we are sharing has been published several times, so there's nothing new that we will probably be speaking about. It's just our hope that we can get our message to as many people as possible and have that message be in real time, meaning directly to you. I've got a great group of people here with me. Of course, Damian Blanchard, he is our director of technology, plays a very, very big role all the time, more so now than ever before. I have Mrs. Stephanie Ortero. She is my assistant. I have Mrs. Christy Labak. Labak. How do I? Never mind. I say her name wrong all the time. She is one of our secondary educators, 20-year veteran, and just has so much information and really been helping us with the, with the commencing of this program. We have Mr. John Gorham. John is our secondary building principal, and he is also our principal of the Crestwood Cyber Academy. We have Mrs. Tracy Cormier. Tracy is our assistant to our supervisor of behavioral health and special programs. So she plays a very, very big role as well. Let me see. I'm just looking to see who else from our team is here. Okay, we have Mrs. Beth Ann Harris. She is the director of behavioral health special programs. She's hiding her face. That's why I couldn't see her. And I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, that's the administration team that is assembled here today that will help answer any questions you have. So the format will be, we'll keep you muted. And that's only because there's no background noise and we can hear everything, much clearer. You can type your question into the chat box. Damian will then read the questions, and our team, again, will hopefully do the very best in answering your questions. So thank you for being here, making your time available. We will post this session on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel. So for those that maybe missed something or are not sure if you heard correctly, or for those that cannot be here today, they can go back and listen to the questions that we discussed. So with that, we'll turn it to Mr. Blanchard and take our first question.
Okay, thank you all. Our first question comes from Johnny Klimick. I don't know if I said that right. How is cyber expected to work for first grade without parent involvement the entire time? They will need a parent the entire time to guide them through the lessons, etc.
So, Johnny, that's a great question. So as we know and as we have discussed, we will have a Crestwood teacher assigned specifically to your first grade child, as we will K to 6. Okay, so there is no question that, and let me just say, folks, I've been doing cyber education as an administrator for 7 years. Okay, most students really struggle with cyber education. The typical cyber student struggles. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of self-motivation. It definitely takes family involvement. It's an excellent alternative if the brick and mortar does not work for you, but it does take a lot. So I will tell you that yes, there does need to be parent involvement to ensure, yep, my child did log on. Yep, he is keeping up, or she is keeping up with the assignments. There is going to be your opportunity to communicate with the teacher frequently. And when I say frequently, it may be daily, may not be daily. You probably don't communicate daily when your child was in brick and mortar, but that opportunity is going to be there for you. So the involvement, your involvement is really to make sure your child is getting online. Make sure they have the ability to log on. That's tough for well, maybe not. First graders probably have that down pat. Took me 4 minutes today to get on, but that is the role. The teaching is still going to be our teacher. A Crestwood teacher will teach your child. So you don't need to teach your child, but you do need to be there to support your child as you would when they come home from school, as that you would, if they're having a situation in school and you would need to speak to that. So yes, I hope I'm answering it, that your involvement is to make sure that they stay up to date with their programs and assignments, that they're able to get on, that they are going back and reviewing the lesson if they missed something or if they were absent, because you can still be absent in cyber school. You could still be sick. You could still maybe have to travel. So that's the role of the parent.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Next question is from Melissa Sanabria, K through 6. Is cyber not available for 7th grade? Question.
Yes, and this is more Mr. Gorham, but yeah, it's K to 12. I was speaking specifically to K to 6 because it was a first grade question. So I apologize if I confused you. That was a question directly related to first grade. And what we know right now is that K to 6, kindergarten to 6th grade, will be all Crestwood school teachers teaching the classes. We are still working on the scheduling 7th grade through 12th, and it's a little more complicated, and it definitely takes more time because we have content specific certifications from 7th to 12th grade. So I could only teach math to a 9th grader if I'm certified in math 9th through 12th grade, where in elementary, it's an elementary certificate. So we are hopeful that we will have Crestwood teachers teaching our 7th through 12th graders. And if we do not, it will be a Pennsylvania certified teacher who is following the standards, the same standards that our teachers follow, that will be provided through Edmentum, who is our partnership with this program.
Thank you. Michelle Glassick asks, what if we want to send them back to the brick and mortar in the middle of the year?
Michelle, I saw you smile when they mentioned your name. You're on YouTube, Michelle, so wave to everybody. Michelle, very good question. And I'm sorry, say it again, Damien.
Question. What if we want to send them back to brick and mortar in the middle of the year?
Yep. So Michelle, you can certainly do that, okay? If you feel that, hey, things are safer in your opinion, in your feelings, if it's not working out for you, you can certainly send back. And at the same token, those that are in brick and mortar that maybe feel, the restrictions, the mandates, they're so much different. My child is really having trouble with that. They can also come over to cyber. So yes, you can choose to leave and come to brick and mortar. The only time that we will, what we call is a lockdown of movement, is if we should go to a state closure or any closure related to COVID-19, okay? Because at that point, if you're in cyber, you want to continue being in cyber, there will be no disruption at all. If you're in brick and mortar, okay, then we are going to revert to what we're calling our COVID-19 schedule, and we will immediately move to distance learning. And there's tremendous training going on with our professional staff to be prepared to deliver that distance learning, much different than what you saw in the fall. It will be right in line to what they were doing when we went out on the closure. So there will be grades, tests, assessments, progress monitoring, attendance, face-to-face meetings, all those things. So at that point, though, if we are to be closed down by the governor or our own doing because of COVID, then we will, at that point, not allow people to move back and forth. And at that point, you wouldn't want to. Where you're at is going to be the best place for you to have the continuity of education that your child requires. Thank you, Michelle, for that.
Thank you. C. Everett asks, I have 11th graders taking physics AP, French 111, and pre-engineering. Will those courses be offered in the cyber platform? If so, will it be the same teacher that the brick and mortar students have, and how will the labs be handled?
That'll be Mr. Gorham for certain.
Yeah, Christy could jump in here too. She has a good grasp on the courses that are available. But there definitely is physics. There's several AP courses. She'll probably look that up right now to see that there's definitely a physics AP. There's definitely French. The engineering, there's engineering courses. But what we're looking at now, and it like Mr. Mahalik had previously said, it's a lot different than the elementary. It's more departmentalized, obviously. It's more content specific and what your certification is. Our ultimate goal is that we can have as many Crestwood teachers teaching the courses in the cyber platform as we can. But it's a scheduling issue that we have to work through. So right now we're trying to finalize our brick and mortar schedules first, and then we're seeing where we have gaps in our schedule, and then we're offering out those courses to teachers to teach the cyber ones. So there are going to be several Crestwood teachers teaching the cyber courses, but we're not exactly sure which ones they are yet. There is labs associated with all the cyber courses. They're going to be virtual labs, of course. There is some materials that might be necessary for the labs, but if you're in a specific course that you're signed up for that requires a lab, all those materials would be provided to you before the course started.
So I did look up and find that there is an engineering course. I can see physics. I did not see any kind of physics AP, but that doesn't mean it's not there. We're learning to use the software just like everyone else is. So I know about my courses in the business department, but I'm not 100% sure on the, I do see a physics there. I don't see something specifically labeled AP. But we've been told that there are AP courses in Edmonton. Maybe I'm just not looking in the correct place.
Yeah, and there absolutely are AP courses. If we could do this, C. Everett, could you please give us your email, and we will get back to you by the end of today to answer that physics AP. And I'm almost certain there are, because there's a wide range of AP courses, but if you could email us, you could do that privately too, sir, if you'd like, or ma'am, and then we will get right back to you with that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to probably script this name. Rita Kogoy. For high school students, how closely will the cyber curriculum match in-person class? Is the expectation that students will sign up for an entire year, or can they take it, say, quarter by quarter? Will there be Zoom classes, or is it self-learning?
Yeah, so what we're doing now is we've been training our teachers since last May on the Admentum platform, as well as throughout the entire summer. What they're doing is they're coming in, they're learning the platform, as well as they're building out courses for the entire year for the courses that we know we're going to have enrollment in the Cyber Academy. There's obviously courses that we definitely know we're going to have the traditional courses. So those courses are going to be aligned to the Crestwood brick and mortar scope and sequence and curriculum completely. Now, it won't be synchronous, which means it won't be the same exact thing that they're learning in the brick and mortar on a daily basis, but it will be following essentially the same scope and sequence. So it'll be the same state standards covered throughout the year, just at a slightly different time period. The expectations that students will sign in for an entire year. So what we're looking at for the Cyber Academy is we know that this is a very difficult time for people. We're not requiring that you stay in the entire quarter, the entire semester, the entire year. You could move back and forth, although we discourage it. You know, we don't want to see people jumping back and forth too often. The transition would be very easy because the student remains a Crestwood student. If you signed up for a private cyber charter, the process becomes a lot more difficult because you have to de-enroll from the Crestwood School District, then you have to re-enroll back with us, and you need to re-provide immunizations and proof of residency and all those things. But when you're in the Crestwood Cyber Academy, you remain a Crestwood student, which is the nice part. Will there be Zoom classes, or is it all self-learning? All right, that question, it looks like you're asking for high school, but it varies a little bit with the elementary, but it looks like for high school students, you said in the first part. So what we're looking at now is we're going to require our teachers 2 to 3 live lessons per week per subject. So they're going to be working predominantly on the Admentum platform, but they're also going to be utilizing Zoom, Google Meet, Google Classroom, those type of things, all platforms that they had previously utilized. Obviously, teachers are very skilled in using technology, so there is going to be some aspect of live lessons. What we're working through now, and it's a major technology issue, is we would like to archive all of the live sessions as well, which we've been saying they will be archived, and we're working through that process so that you don't need to be on for every live session or every course every day if it doesn't match up with your schedule, and then you can go back and watch it at a later time. But there will be some live sessions. It won't just all be self-taught.
Thanks, Mr. Gorham.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Glassick asks, so will we be able to check to confirm high school students are actually completing their assignments?
Yes, minute by minute, and so will we, and so will we. And that's why we've assembled a team, because I will tell you, as of this morning, we're at 350 students that are enrolled in the Crestwood Cyber, and I am so grateful that our parents are choosing that option. But you know, we're getting to the point of being a small school district. You know, there are school districts of 600 students. We're getting to that point that our cyber will be a small little school district in of itself. We can watch minute by minute from my computer where your child is in terms of their pacing, and so will you. And we will explain that to you when we do our tutorial for the program. You will be able to see where they're at and what needs to be completed and the timelines that they should be completed at. More so, you will have constant communication, or at least as much communication as you want with your Crestwood connection. And I'm going to say, please take advantage of that. because that's going to make this be as successful as possible for your child. The truth is, we just want to get your child back here safely, and we don't want them to have a large gap, any gap. We want them to be right where they would be if they were here in our brick and mortar. And that's what we are striving for. So with that, when you have a parent that's involved, we feel real confident that that can happen. But yes, you will be able to see without even them knowing that you can see what they're doing. Not that they would be dishonest.
Thank you. The next question, Carrie Grohl. At the elementary level, will there be an effort made to have the live instructions occur in the morning hours when kids are fresh and more engaged, and then allow students to do their independent work or utilize office hours or Comic Cafe if needed later in the day?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. They're going to have a schedule very similar to being in school. So, and there are, and it's interesting, Carrie, that you say this, because the traditional cyber student prior to the pandemic would probably tell us, I'm not fresh in the morning. In fact, that's the most difficult time I have for whatever the situation is. And there are lots of situations that our kids deal with. But when we really think of the whole premises behind cyber programs, it's flexibility. And some kids work best starting at 7 o'clock at night. I've seen kids that I know would have never, ever graduated with a high school diploma, graduate and flourish because, yeah, you could get on at 7 at night. You could work 2 o'clock in the morning. Certainly not younger kids. We know that. But for our high school kids, some high school kids, hold jobs down. Some, have situations in their life where they have real demands that from 8 to 3 makes it impossible. Medical conditions. So Gary, yes, these are non-traditional cyber students for the most part. But our teachers will absolutely be putting together a schedule. And especially you talk about an elementary teacher, you will have an elementary teacher you'll speak with. So yes, a lot of us are under the, under the impression that math and reading should always be in the morning because kids are more focused. Right after lunch, we should do maybe a little fun.
I think we're losing Bob there. Mr. Mahalik, if you can hear this, you're frozen, or I'm frozen.
Who's frozen?
I don't know. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, it just froze on me. I don't know if that was me or you. Okay. Next question comes from Brian Stahl. We are electing brick and mortar for our kindergarten daughter. Is there a time period during the year that we can switch her to cyber?
So again, you can always make that decision, Brian, and we certainly will do everything we can to make it a very easy transition. In fact, it will be an easy transition. Of course, the later in the year we go, the more that you probably might not want to make that decision. So what is that cutoff? Well, we're not going to give a cutoff, but certainly when you get into the third marking period, you may say, no, this is probably not the time to leave. If you were thinking of leaving because of conditions, probably by the third marking period, you'll feel very comfortable. And we'll know exactly how this is going to work. And listen, we are still ourselves wondering, just what kind of effect we're going to have. Our county was doing very well with this. Our immediate region was, doing well with this. I look towards our sports programs, which have been up and running for the past 5-6 weeks. Yes, we are taking precautions. We have a health and safety athletic plan. But we have been, and I'm going to knock on wood. I don't know if that matters or not, but we've been very, very, very good up to this point. No known cases, no known illnesses. And those kids are, it looks like a normal soccer practice. It looks like a normal volleyball practice. Yes, they are wearing masks when they're not when they're engaged in a rigorous activity. But I would say, Brian, that at a certain point, the move after the beginning of the third marking period might be not the best for your kindergartner. However, it could still happen, and we'll do everything we can to make it be successful. But that would be a discussion that I think we would have with your building administrator, and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Michelle Glassick asks, will the scheduling for high school be the same as for brick and mortar? Will we be able to take the same classes?
That will be Mr. Gorham.
Yeah,
and
so we're meeting with our counselors daily, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to match up the course requests that the students put into our system. For the brick and mortar, we're going to do our best to match those up to the cyber courses. If there's some slight variables, such as an elective that they chose that isn't available, then those would be phone calls that you would be receiving, or emails asking for you to pick a different option because the elective that you chose wasn't available. One of the things that I wanted to stress is that the electives on the secondary campus are grade specific, and those are listed on the course selection sheets that parents and students see and they look at, and we're going to do what we can and do our best to try to limit those electives within the Cyber Academy as well. So when they transfer back to the brick and mortar, which is the goal for all of these students, is that they have an easy transition back with the courses that they took in cyber, so they didn't take one that was, way outside their grade level. So we're trying to limit it kind of with the electives. I mean, if there's something that someone is, really intent on taking, they really, really want to take it, then we'll work with that student individually. But for the most part, we want to stay within the grade level for the selection of the electives as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gorham. Angie Hyatt asks, will we use Skyward to monitor their progress?
Yeah, I could answer that one too. That's kind of a difficult question to answer. I mean, the easy answer from a district standpoint would be yes, but seeing that I'm the Skyward guy here on the campus, it's not as easy as a solution as it sounds. The students in the Cyber Academy, they have to be changed to a different entity in our system. That creates a little bit of a situation where we have to create additional grade books and additional tracking technology to be able to track those students. It's something that we're attempting to do. It's something that we're working on, but it's not an easy fix right off the bat. We'd like to be able to utilize that because we know that a lot of parents rely on that Skyward app to monitor their students. With that said, there is built-in ways to monitor your students, as Mr. Mahalik said, in the Admentum platform as well. So it's not like there won't be anything for parents and students and the teachers, administrators to keep track of the students. But, we are working through that process with Skyward, and it's something that we're shooting for, for the first day.
You good, Damien?
Yeah, I got the next one. I could read it, but Mr. Mahalik, this that Crestwood has to go completely virtual, whether this be prior to the school year or a few weeks or months into the school year. Will all of the students move over to Crestwood Cyber?
So the answer is no. Although everyone will be doing online learning. The cyber kids will continue exactly how we are arranging the program. The brick and mortar students will go to what is considered distance learning, and they will have their schedule specifically to what was in that brick and mortar, okay? And our principals have all been working on that, and it will be ready to go if this situation should take place. So the cyber students remain exactly how they are. Brick and mortar remain with their class, with their teachers, and they switch to distance learning. And that's why I said there will be that, at that point, a lockout, in that you won't be able to switch back and forth. Again, you wouldn't even want to do that because it's the consistency that you should be looking for at that point, and that's what will be delivered.
The next question is from Nathan. Is there any instance where it will be deemed safe enough for everyone to return to brick and mortar and the cyber option will be deprioritized?
No, I mean, we were going to, this was a priority of myself, my administration, since I arrived in September, okay? At that point, we were looking at 28 students. However, it's an option that students choose, and we have students that have chosen to go outside of the district. And so this will always be a priority. Will it be the priority as it is now? It won't need to be, because we will have, we will have our procedures in place. We will have the processes that we use to communicate with families and also to network the program. But it will always be an option, always be a priority, because whether it's one student or 3,000 students, we want every single one of them to be prepared for the next phase of their life. So every program we have is a priority. It just probably will not be where I have 6, 7 administrative members each day meeting publicly with our community, because it won't need that. It'll be myself, Mr. Gorham, meeting, individually with parents, because you could do that when you have 50, 60, 70 members of your cyber program. But when you're, like I said, a small school district, now it does take our team. But we are prioritizing also our reentry to the school. We are looking at every safety feature and doing our very best to meet the recommendations to the best of our ability. So really, at this point, everything is a priority, and I can't wait to the point where it's deemed safe enough for everyone to return to brick and mortar, and we go back to, just being the way it was before. I'm really looking forward to that day, Nathan. So I hope that answered your question.
The next question is from Johnny. Will the kids have classes outside for brick and mortar? And what about safety concerns for active shooters, etc.? I could answer that one. Speaking with Mr. Sayer and the entire administrative team, there's no plans at this time to hold regularly scheduled classes outside. That's not to say that the occasional class won't go outside, as every school district, every school setting, teachers take their classes outside on occasion. With that said, the Crestwood School District will continue with every safety measure that they had prior to the pandemic. And I don't want to get too in-depth with it, but we have very strict sign-in procedures within our district. We have security in all 3 of our buildings. This year, more than ever, we're going to limit our visitors on the campus. So in the event that a teacher chooses to take their class outside, we have those safety measures in place, as we always have. But at this time, we don't have any regularly scheduled classes being held outside. The next question is from Carrie. Will the cyber program be a combination of virtual learning and a completion at your own pace assignments, or will there, it kind of cuts off right there, or will there be, it cuts off. So will the cyber program be a combination of virtual learning and a completion at your own pace assignments? So as Mr. Mahalik had said before, and I think I touched on it a little bit, this question, you know, could vary a little bit depending on whether you're speaking about secondary students or whether you're speaking about elementary. And with both, it's a combination of cyber platform. So the students will be working using a technology component, but there also will be some completion of your own work. Just as there is in brick and mortar, there'll be some independent work. The elementary teachers have been meeting already, the teachers that have signed on to take on the Crestwood cyber responsibility. What they're looking at is a traditional school day like Mr. Mahalik said, but in a virtual aspect. So they will be doing live teaching. There will be, but there will be some completion of work at your own pace, just like there will be on the secondary campus, and there would be if you were in a brick and mortar setting. So it will be a combination of both. This one is from C. Everett. I am aware other districts are offering live on streaming of classrooms, and students who choose to go virtual can interact, participate directly in class. Why has not explored this format?
If I could jump in there, and then Mr. Gorham, you and anyone else can as well. We certainly have explored this. I think our teachers have a tremendously difficult job right now in front of them. First of all, they have always had a difficult job. And I know as parents, you can appreciate what they do. Again, especially here at Crestwood, where we just have some of the finest educators and outcomes that I've seen in this state. With that, when you look at what it takes to control a classroom of 15, 18, 20, 25, whatever that number is, and to focus on them. I think that you can also give as much attention to detail to those students online that we would be doing everyone a disservice. Nothing against the districts that are doing this. I just do not see, as a teacher for many years prior to getting into administration, speaking with teachers, speaking with our association, I do not see how this can benefit the child that's behind the camera at home or the teacher trying to reach every single kid. That connect, to connect to your kids is the most important part of being a teacher. I've seen the most amazing teachers who, when I really look at their background, say, I can't believe how many kids are just wanting to get to their classroom, who just learn so much coming out of there. And it's not because they've got a PhD in engineering. It's because they connect with their students. And that is so important. So when we go to this online system, our teachers need to focus on exactly what they have in front of their computer screen. And to think that I can do that while writing a pass for a kid that needs to go see the nurse, while a kid might need to use the bathroom, while I might have a situation in the corner because Johnny's, all those things. And we know it's not fair. It's not fair, and I'm not saying it can't be successful in those districts that are trying it, but I want to put all my efforts, resources, and training into let's be the very best online and let's be the very best brick and mortar under the situations of wearing masks and social distancing and doing all those things that are recommended. And that's the reason that we are not going with that model.
The next question is from Carrie Romig. It says, online exclusively for the duration of regular school day.
So, Carrie, I think we're saying, you're asking about the schedule. And yes, it's, so when we look at a schedule for a cyber student, it's the standard is for elementary, or at least the standard that we have been educated on, is 25 minutes, minimum of 25 minutes for elementary students. It's 35 to 45 for secondary students. It's 2 to 3 live sessions per class per week. That's per class. So that's math, that's science, social studies, spelling, language arts, whatever the case might be. That's the standard. So it's a full schedule. It is absolutely a full schedule. And will it be all day online? Of course, there's breaks built in. There's opportunities for the students to pace themselves, work ahead. If, again, they are absent, because you can be absent and be in cyber. There's chances to make up work and all those things. But it's very much a school day in an alternative manner.
Thank you. This one's another question for Mr. Mahalik. It's from Johnny. Let's see. Who will be quarantined after a confirmed COVID case? Will the teacher and the entire class be quarantined?
So, Johnny, when there is a confirmed positive, we will be notified of that confirmed positive through the Department of Health. The Department of Health then takes over what we call the contact tracing. They will certainly be working in conjunction with the building administrators and the teachers, because we then will have to follow, where that child was and who possibly might be affected. The quarantine piece will be delivered by the Department of Health. Okay, so it really is coming down to when they are able to track and who they feel might be at a high risk. We absolutely know for certain that siblings and family members of the affected person would be a risk if they're living in the same house with each other. That we absolutely will know. Beyond that, it's going to be that contact tracing that will guide the whole process. So the district is a part of it, but we are certainly not leading it. We are not making decisions. We are taking guidance by the Department of Health. Now, I've met with the Department of Health several times, most recently yesterday, and the question may be, how in the world can the Department of Health, with all these school districts, do the tracing? Well, that question was asked, and if you get an opportunity to look at any of the help wanted jobs available, they are hiring 1,000 people to do the tracing. There will be training for these people, and then they will, they are prepared. They are hiring 1,000 tracers. So it is immense of a job that they have in front of them. But with that sort of staff, they tell us that they will be able to identify and track within 24, maximum 48 hours. And we will communicate that the entire way to our families. Thank you for that question.
The next question is, I know it was about Chromebooks. When will Chromebooks be assigned to the students? From Rachel. Did answer that one. I spoke with Mr. Blanchard yesterday and Mr. Mahalik, and we will be beginning to issue Chromebooks next week. Starting next week, We're going to work through the process of how we're going to communicate that to parents. But you should be receiving a message, whether it's by phone or email, sometime maybe tomorrow, over the weekend, or early next week. So you will start receiving Chromebooks next week.
Yeah, I've got to just thank Mr. Gorham, Mr. Blanchard, Mr. Stucker for working on this. And I want to thank our families, because I've asked you, if you need it, please, we will get it to you. Absolutely, as we are giving it to anyone. If you don't need it, or your child has their favorite station to work on, it's just a benefit to us, because we are not yet one-to-one. Working really hard at being one-to-one, and that's an initiative that started years ago. So anything that, so for the ones that we don't have to give, it's obviously one that we will have for someone that needs it. But we feel very confident that we will have a Chromebook for every student that needs it this year in this district, and certainly the ones on cyber.
Thank you. Let's see. Do you have an approximate number of cyber for 11th grade? Right at this point today, it's 29 students are enrolled in the 11th grade. This question is from Johnny. It says, another question about 1st and 4th grade. In a previous meeting, it was mentioned that students would use Go Math, Wonders, and meeting 2 to 3 times per week. This sounds almost exactly like the material used in the spring, which I feel wasn't great. I could talk about that a little bit, because I've been working very closely with Mr. Sayre, as well as Mr. Mahalik has as well. Mr. Sayre and it does an excellent job with his elementary teachers, and all of the teachers on the elementary level in both buildings do an amazing job preparing the students to be prepared for the next grade level, to be prepared for standardized tests, and you know, just overall to meet those standards that are required by the state and required for age appropriate for those students. They are going to be covering exactly what they would be covering in the brick and mortar setting in the Cyber Academy now. It's going to be 500 times more rigorous than it was in the spring. We all understand that the spring was something that we were kind of thrown into. It happened very fast. But like I had previously said, we've been working on this model. We've been working on the Amenta model and the cyber model and the virtual model since the end of last year. It was something that came about from Mr. Mahalik prior to the pandemic. It was something that we had wanted to put in place, that he wanted to put in place specifically to give our teachers other opportunities to be able to educate our students. And, you know, unfortunately and fortunately, you know, the pandemic occurred, and now our teachers have this preparation that's needed for them to be able to teach virtually. But I can assure you that it's going to be a lot more rigorous and a lot more like a traditional school day than it was in the spring.
Yeah, and if I may just follow up with that as well, John, thank you. And Johnny, it's 2 or 3 times per week per class. So that's going to be much, much more involved than the spring. 2 or 3 times per week per class. So again, if your child has 4 classes, 5 classes, and in 1st and 4th grade, we will have a dedicated teacher just to the related arts. There will be a teacher doing music, art, phys ed, and we feel that's very, very important, because, you know, I met with a parent yesterday whose daughter is getting ready to receive a tremendous scholarship because of her artistic abilities. And that doesn't start in 9th grade. That starts in 1st grade, 2nd grade. So we are putting resources towards related arts in this cyber program, which, not looking for a pat on the back, just wanting you to know that we're aware that that might be the thing that drives your kid, that motivates your kid. And if anything, it'll be something fun while we are in this pattern of, uncertainty.
The next question is from Michelle Glassick. How do we enroll in Crestwood Cyber? I believe that Ms. Harris put the link up there. I put one up there as well. It looks like if you click on hers, it takes you to the unsecure site. But if you click on the one that I put up, it takes you to the secure Sharp School site. So they're both up there. You can click on that and it should take you right to the enrollment form.
Yes. So we had 2 forms circulating previously. An interest form where we were using to be able to answer questions you might have, and then the enrollment form. This time we've done away with the interest form because we know that there's a lot of interest. And that's why these town hall meetings are taking place. And we are continuing to do our best to answer emails and phone calls. So the interest form no longer exists, or at least it wasn't supposed to. If it wasn't taken down, everything now is the enrollment form, and we're going to continue to meet with our families as much as we can to educate them as much as we possibly, can, and hopefully help you make the best decision for your family.
The next question is from Brian Stahl. For brick and mortar, if there are weather delays, will the brick and mortar students pivot right into distance learning?
So, Brian, no, if there's a weather delay, first of all, it's a great question, Brian, because brick and mortar and cyber are going to follow the same schedule. Okay, so our cyber students, we have a day off for Columbus Day, and I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but if we have Columbus Day off, cyber is not expected to work on that day. If we have a snow day, they are expected to work on a snow day. Now, there's nothing saying they can't work, and if as a parent you choose to not tell them this little bit of information, but yeah, they're going to follow our schedule. For the brick and mortar, if there's a weather delay, no, it'll be a 2-hour delay. We did last year, move to a 3-hour delay as well. We never initiated it, I don't think, but it is out there for us if we need. But for a weather delay, no, we will not. Now, Brian is also maybe talking about, well, if there's a snow day, the district is going to be applying for what they call these flexible instructional days. And that does give us the opportunity to provide education to our students when they are home on a snow day. Again, this is pre-pandemic that the state came out with these days. There's 5 days you can apply for. We did not apply for these days last year. In the end, we didn't need them because there was no real snow days. However, we ended up with one large snow day on March 16th. But we will apply for the flex days, and we can enact them. And now we will absolutely be in a great position to enact those days. So we will apply for them, Brian. And again, thank you for that question.
Thank you. Jamie Ryan here. Is there a place where we can see what courses are definitely offered to cyber secondary campus students on the new platform? Beth Ann Harris our supervisor of behavioral health on the secondary, or on the Crestwood, the entire Crestwood campus, I'm sorry. She put the link up there for the course selection sheet, I think, too. Yep, she put the course offering link up there, as well as Annie Moran is on here now, I believe, and she might be able to jump in here if she has any other resources for courses that are offered. Damien, you there? Can you hear me?
Yep, and they are also on our website as well, John.
Can you unmute Annie? I don't know if she's trying to talk.
Yeah, I'm trying to find her in the list.
Oh, she's unmuted. Annie, can you hear us?
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
You're kind of quiet, but
we're having trouble with my mic today. So all the courses were listed. Beth Ann included it. There's, you can look on that, and that'll have all your course offerings for Crestwood as well as within the academy.
Okay, yeah, she's having a little technical trouble there, but the link is on our website. If you go onto the Crestwood School District website, if you click on schools, if you scroll down to the Crestwood Cyber Academy, there's some information there. The enrollment form is there. The course offerings form is there, as well as some other things will be added throughout the year. So that's a resource there for the course offerings, as well as you can go on to the Edmentum platform itself, the website, and see what courses they have to offer. If you have any specific questions about a course, if you can't find something, feel free to email myself, email Mr. Mahalik, email any one of the administrators on the campus, and we can get that answer for you. C. Everett says, do we mail the transportation form directly to the high school for the secondary campus?
Yes.
Yeah, you can mail that into the school district, to the secondary campus. You can mail it as long as we receive it somewhere on the secondary campus here. We'll get it, and we'll get that to transportation. Thank you. Chris O'Neill asks, when will the orientation for students and parents be scheduled? That's something that we've been planning. We're looking at maybe next week, maybe the following week. The reason we're holding off a little bit on that is because our numbers are continuing to grow. At some point, we're going to just have to schedule that, have the orientation, and any latecomers to the process, we'll have to watch a recorded version of the orientation. But that should be coming up within a week to a little over a week. We got to build that out and get some specifics on there on things we want you guys to know prior to the start of the school year. So that's definitely in the works.
Yeah, and Mr. Gorham, if I could add, so what we will do now, you'll see today a message that we are going to cut off enrollment to Cyber Academy on August 11th. Now, when I say that, please understand that's a soft cut. We will certainly still accept you, but we need to do our first round of scheduling for our teachers. Okay, so we're gonna at this point ask, please schedule by the 11th, and if not, we're still gonna accept you, but it's going to just be, on the second round to see what our staffing needs are and what the schedules are gonna look like. So by the 11th, we're gonna move, right into making sure all the students up to this point are where they need to be and ready for the first day of school.
Thank you. Angie asks, my son is a senior this year. How will graduation be affected? Will they still walk with the brick and mortar kids? So I could answer that one. Just like we did at the end of this year, there was a tremendous amount of planning that went into the graduation due to the pandemic. We'll approach the end of this school year, which is, far off in terms of what could and possibly happen with the pandemic. We're not sure what's ahead, but, we'll take it day by day, and definitely the students that are enrolled in the Cyber Academy will be included in the graduation ceremony, whatever that looks like at the time, and they are welcome to walk in the graduation ceremony if it's a traditional ceremony, or whatever it might look like at that time. They will be part of that.
And that goes for next year and the following years. Crestwood Cyber Academy is a part of the Crestwood School District, and we want them to feel that connection. We want them to be a part. That is why we're opening up the Cyber Cafe, so they still can come in to the schools. We will provide lunches to our students that are on cyber. We're going to take some planning, but we're going to do that. And yes, they have every right to walk across that stage. They will be a part of National Honor Society. They can be a part of our very popular FBLA. I'll put a plug for FBLA. They can be a part of any extracurricular besides the PIAA. We have some great clubs here, and they can be a part of anything. For this year, absolutely, but it's not only this year, it's every year. And I can proudly say that we did graduate 3 students last year from cyber, and all 3 of them are on their way, or hopefully on their way to college, probably this week or next. So you can be successful in cyber. You will never, ever be able to deliver what we deliver here in the brick and mortar. But the best alternative is the Crestwood Cyber Academy.
C. Everett, if a parent has to quarantine because of exposure to a positive case, does the student also need to quarantine from school? Also, even if parent has not tested positive yet?
So, Christine, at that point, again, the Department of Health will give you all the guidance. That is really a higher level medical question that I wouldn't want us to answer, because that's changing daily. But if if you're quarantined because of something that took place at work or anything of that situation, you will be given guidance from the Department of Health. And if that guidance is that your children should be quarantined, they will, again, that tracing piece will trace to the school.
Thank you. If a student does cyber learning, can they still participate in band, cheerleading, etc.? Also, for brick and mortar students, how is tech working? So as we had said during several of the responses, during this meeting is, and Mr. Mahalik had just touched on, the students can participate in all of the Crestwood activities that take place: band, cheerleading, sports, everything that we have to offer at the Crestwood School District is available to the cyber students as well. As far as tech, at this point, we believe that tech is going to be returning to their school. I received a message this morning inviting us to a meeting with the VOTEC tomorrow morning, so we should have some updated answers on what their school day is going to look like there. But our goal is to have our students going to the VOTEC. C. Everett says, are lockers not being used in the secondary campus?
Yes, we will not be using lockers this year, or at least until further notice. Again, you can probably all remember going to school and having a locker. You're within, inches of another person. Lockers oftentimes are the place where kids like to congregate. We understand that, so we are going to remove the lockers this year. Not remove them physically, but no one will be assigned lockers. They can certainly carry book bags around, which is something that we would not promote. or even allow. But again, there are going to be differences and there are going to be changes, and we are going to have to adapt our ways of thinking, and our students and families are going to have to obviously, you know, accept some things that in the past, you know, were allowable.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. It looks like Jamie said thank you. Miss Otero put Mr. Mahalik and myself's email up there for anybody who needs those. Maria Powell said, does this apply to Rice 4th and 5th grade? I'm assuming she's asking if this entire discussion about Cyber Academy applies to Rice as well. The Cyber Academy is offered to the entire district, K through 12. That includes Fairview and Rice Elementaries. So yes, it does apply to both schools. If you have a more specific question, you can add that at the bottom. Miss Otero also put the email address of our transportation contact at the district, which is Megan Nealon, and the address of the transportation as well. And that is, and Mr. Blanchard put important links at the bottom. He put our Crestwood Facebook page, as well as a new and updated Crestwood YouTube channel. So feel free to click on those, and you know, that's a valuable resource for information from the district that we're trying to promote. And Mr. Mahalik, that is the bottom of the questions. That's it.
Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate so much your cooperation, your understanding, your flexibility. Though nice comments and messages you provide us are just so appreciative. I want to let you know that. Want to let you know now, I think we have another question in from Bernadette Finn. Will the busing restrictions, will the previous year's drop-off locations be honored? So we will absolutely have changes to our transportation. As you know, that we are only going to have 2 kids per bus. That is very, very important. Kids will have assigned seats. So there will definitely be changes to the way we do transportation. And that's why the enrollment form is so important. So there certainly can be a drop-off, a pickup, and a drop-off. And the drop-off and pickup can be different than each other, but that's going to be the full schedule. So in the past, we were doing some things that, 1, were not real safe, and 2, not even legal, because we must have at all times a accurate bus roster. And you can only do that if you have your students on the same bus each and every route that you're taking. Our drivers, we met with each driver individually this year, and this was their biggest concern. You know, thank goodness we've never had an issue, but our past practices were dangerous. And that has to change this year more so than ever. There were times we pulled up to a daycare and 10 kids would enter the bus. The very next day, 30 kids would get on the bus. I've had actual drivers call me sitting in a parking lot saying, I don't have seats for all these kids. Are you telling me I have to travel with kids standing? I would never tell you that. But those are the reasons we have to put in new policies and procedures surrounding busing. And I know that that's, you know, that's going to be a change. And we understand that. But the change is to protect everyone. And even if there wasn't the pandemic, our buses, it's a legal requirement that that bus driver has a active, accurate roster. So every kid that's on their roster is in that bus. And if they're not in that bus, it's only because they're home or absent or staying after school. But if I've got a kid on a bus that's not on my roster, then I am out of compliance with state regulations in transportation. We cannot do that any longer. So hope that answers your question, Bernadette. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you. We know that we've got some really tough months ahead of us. If we stay together, we stay safe, stay healthy, Crestwood will be better than it ever has been. We'll be more united. We'll understand each other so much better. And your children are going to be more resilient than they ever have before. We are dedicated to giving them the very best education in whatever manner that you're comfortable with. So I thank you. Please reach out. We are definitely taking longer to respond to emails and phone calls just because of the amount that we're getting. So we'll continue to do these town hall meetings every day. I know that the time is not the best. That is why we're recording them, and also still trying to get back to people that do want to talk to us in person. So thank you all so much. Be well. And again, I thank you for being a Crestwood Comment.